Maria had been working as a maid at the Golden Star Hotel for 5 years. She was known for her kindness and honesty, and she always treated the hotel guests like family. Every morning she would wake up early, tidy the rooms, sweep the halls, and make sure every corner of the hotel shined. Even though the work was tiring, Maria loved it. She enjoyed the quiet moments when the sun rose over the small town, painting the streets in soft gold light. One rainy morning, as Maria was cleaning a guest room, a letter arrived at the hotel reception. The envelope looked old, with faded handwriting that seemed fragile. Maria was curious when the receptionist handed it to her. She carefully opened the letter and unfolded the paper. Her eyes widened as she read the first lines. It was from a lawyer, Mr. Castillo, explaining that Maria had inherited a property from a distant relative she had never met. The property was a large house in the countryside, far from the hotel and the town she knew so well. The letter continued to describe the house. It was a grand old building surrounded by tall trees and thick gardens. According to the lawyer, the house had been empty for many years. It also included a warning. The house had a reputation and visitors often said it was haunted. Maria frowned at the warning. She had heard stories of haunted houses before, but she did not believe in ghosts. Still, there was something strange about inheriting a property she had never known existed. After thinking for a long time, Maria decided to visit the house. She felt a mix of excitement and fear. The thought of owning a house, a place that belonged entirely to her, was thrilling. It might even change her life. She packed her bag with clothes, a flashlight, and some food for the journey. She also brought a small notebook to write down her observations, just in case the house held secrets. The journey to the countryside took several hours. Maria traveled by bus and then by a long, winding dirt road. The rain continued to fall, tapping gently on the bus windows. When she finally arrived, she saw the house in the distance. Even through the mist and rain, it looked impressive. Its walls were tall and strong, but the paint had faded and parts of the roof seemed broken. Vines had climbed the walls, wrapping around the windows and doors. The trees surrounding the house swayed in the wind, creating eerie shadows. Maria felt a shiver run down her spine, but she reminded herself that this was her inheritance, and she had every right to explore it. As she approached the front door, she noticed it was slightly open. The wind made it creak, but she gently pushed it and stepped inside. The air was cold and musty. Dust covered the floor and cobwebs hung from the ceiling. The furniture was old, some of it broken, and sheets covered the larger pieces. Maria walked carefully, making sure not to trip on the uneven wooden floor. She entered the main hall. Sunlight barely reached the room through the tall, grimy windows. The walls had strange marks, almost like symbols drawn in a pattern. Maria did not understand them, but she took out her notebook and made sketches. She felt as if the house was watching her, and she could not shake the feeling that she was not alone. The thought was frightening, but her curiosity was stronger than her fear. Maria explored the first floor carefully. She found a living room with a grand fireplace, a dining room with a large table, and a kitchen filled with old utensils. Each room seemed frozen in time. Old paintings hung on the walls, their colors faded but still showing faces of people who might have lived in the house many years ago. Maria wondered about their lives, what stories they had, and why the house had been abandoned. As the sun began to set, Maria decided to rest in one of the bedrooms. She chose a room on the second floor with a large window that looked out over the garden. The bed was covered with a thick sheet of dust, but she cleaned it and placed her bag on the floor. She felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. This house was beautiful, but it held secrets, and Maria was determined to discover them. That night, Maria tried to sleep, but the house did not seem quiet. She heard footsteps in the hallway, soft whispers, and the faint creaking of the doors. At first, she thought it was the wind, but the sounds were too deliberate, too close. Maria sat up in bed and listened. The whispers grew louder, but she could not understand the words. She wanted to call out, but her voice caught in her throat. The fear made her heart beat faster, yet she could not deny the strange excitement she felt. She was in a house full of mysteries, and she was the one who had the chance to uncover them. The next morning, Maria explored the house again. She felt braver now, knowing that she had spent the night without harm. She discovered a staircase leading to the attic. The door was old and heavy, but she pushed it open and climbed the narrow steps. The attic was filled with trunks, old furniture, and boxes. Some were labeled with dates from more than 100 years ago. Maria began to open the boxes carefully. She found old clothes, letters, and photographs. Each item told a story, and Maria felt like she was touching history. In one of the trunks, she discovered a small journal. The cover was leather, worn but strong. She opened it and saw the handwriting of someone who lived long ago. As she read the first page, she realized it belonged to her great-grandfather, a man she had never met. He wrote about his life, his travels, and the family he loved. Maria felt a connection she had never felt before. She continued reading, and her eyes widened when she discovered a story about hidden treasure. According to the journal, her great-grandfather had been an explorer. He wrote about finding Spanish gold many years ago and hiding it somewhere on the property. The treasure was meant to be found only by someone who was patient, kind, and brave. Maria could hardly believe what she was reading. A treasure worth millions could be in this very house, and she had inherited it. Her heart raced with excitement. As she finished reading the journal, Maria noticed the strange symbols on the walls again. They were similar to markings described in her great-grandfather's journal. She realized they were clues, guiding her to secret places in the house. Maria felt a thrill of anticipation. She had never imagined her life would take such an unexpected turn. She decided to follow the clues carefully. The next days were filled with exploration. Maria mapped the house, noting each symbol and strange feature. She discovered hidden doors, small passageways, and locked rooms. Each discovery brought more questions than answers. Sometimes she would hear whispers, footsteps, or cold drafts. The house seemed alive, almost like it was testing her. She reminded herself to stay calm and focused. She could not let fear stop her from finding the secrets her great-grandfather had left behind. One evening, Maria found a small trapdoor hidden beneath a rug in the dining room. Her hands trembled as she lifted it. Beneath it was a narrow staircase leading down to darkness. The air smelled damp and earthy. Maria felt a shiver, but she was determined. She took a deep breath, held her flashlight, and stepped carefully down the stairs. She did not know what she would find, but she knew this was the beginning of something extraordinary. Maria's journey in the house had only just begun. She had inherited more than a property. She had inherited a story, a family legacy, and perhaps a treasure beyond imagination. The house was strange and mysterious, but Maria felt a deep connection to it. She knew that patience, courage, and intelligence would guide her through the challenges ahead. This house, abandoned for so many years, was now alive with the presence of someone who cared and believed in its secrets. As she reached the bottom of the hidden staircase, Maria paused and shone her flashlight around the dark space. Her heart beat faster, but she felt ready. This was the start of her adventure, an adventure that would change her life forever. She knew that the house held many secrets, some dangerous and some wonderful, but she was ready to face them all. Maria whispered to herself, feeling the excitement rise in her chest. This is my house. This is my story. I will find the truth, and I will honor my family. With that, she stepped forward into the darkness, unaware of the challenges and surprises waiting for her below. Maria stepped carefully down the narrow staircase. The air grew colder with every step, and a faint smell of earth and old wood filled her nose. She held her flashlight tightly, shining it on the stone walls. The light revealed small cracks and markings that seemed familiar. They reminded her of the symbols she had seen on the walls upstairs. She realized that the house was guiding her. Every step seemed to have a purpose. At the bottom of the staircase, she found a small chamber. The walls were lined with wooden barrels, dusty crates, and piles of old books. The floor was covered with dirt, and small insects scuttled away as she moved. In the corner, Maria noticed something unusual. One crate looked newer than the others, and its wood had a strange pattern carved into it. She knelt down and brushed the dust away. There she saw a symbol that matched one in her great-grandfather's journal. Her heart raced. Could this be the first real clue to the treasure? She opened the crate carefully. Inside, she found old maps, letters, and pieces of paper with strange markings. Maria compared them with the journal. They matched. The papers described secret rooms, hidden doors, and underground passages in the house. She realized her great-grandfather had planned this treasure hunt carefully. Only someone who studied his notes and paid attention to the symbols could find the gold. Maria spent hours in the chamber, going through every piece of paper. She drew sketches in her notebook, noting every detail. She found a map of the house, showing hidden spaces and locked rooms that no ordinary visitor would notice. One passage led to the garden outside, another to the attic, and a third went to a room below the main hall. The markings on the map were cryptic, but Maria was determined to decode them. As she worked, she began to hear strange noises. At first it was faint, like whispers carried by the wind. Then she heard footsteps above her head. Maria froze, her hand gripping the flashlight tightly. She told herself it was only the old house settling. Yet the footsteps continued, slow and deliberate, moving across the floors above. She could not see anyone, but she felt a presence. She reminded herself to stay calm. Fear could make her miss important clues. Suddenly, a cold breeze brushed her face, making her shiver. The lights of her flashlight flickered for a moment, and she felt as if someone or something was watching her. Maria whispered softly, trying to reassure herself. She spoke aloud to the house, telling it she meant no harm and only wanted to understand the secrets her great-grandfather had left behind. The air grew slightly warmer and the room seemed calmer. She realized that the house was not trying to hurt her. It was testing her patience and courage. Maria followed the clues from the crate and the journal. One paper described a hidden door behind the library bookshelf. She hurried upstairs, excitement and nervousness mixing in her chest. The library was dusty, with shelves full of old books that smelled of time and earth. She ran her fingers along the shelves, feeling for a loose panel or a latch. After several minutes, she pressed a small symbol carved into the wood, and to her surprise, the shelf moved slightly, revealing a narrow passage. The passage was dark, narrow, and musty. Maria shone her flashlight carefully, taking small steps. The walls were lined with rough stone, and she could see symbols etched into the surface. She stopped and studied them, recognizing the ones her great-grandfather had drawn in the journal. Each symbol seemed to mark the way forward, guiding her deeper into the hidden parts of the house. She felt a thrill of discovery. This was not just a house anymore. It was a puzzle, a challenge, and she was part of it. After a few minutes, the passage opened into a small room. It was empty except for a wooden chest in the center. Maria's heart leapt. Could this be the treasure? She approached the chest slowly, careful not to disturb anything else. The chest was old, with intricate carvings that seemed to tell a story. She brushed off the dust and ran her fingers along the designs. They matched the symbols from the journal. Maria felt certain that she was on the right path. Just as she was about to open the chest, she heard a sound behind her. A soft whisper, almost like a sigh, echoed through the passage. Maria froze. She took a deep breath, reminding herself that she had explored haunted buildings before and had always stayed safe. The whisper continued, repeating a single word that she could not understand. It was soft but clear. Maria spoke aloud, asking if anyone was there. The whisper stopped. For a moment, the room was completely silent, as if holding its breath. Maria opened the chest carefully. Inside, she found papers, small trinkets, and coins. These were not the main treasure, but she realized they were clues for the next step. The coins were marked with symbols, and the papers described underground tunnels and secret chambers. She examined everything, making notes in her notebook. Each clue brought her closer to the hidden gold her great-grandfather had promised. As she studied the papers, she noticed shadows moving on the walls. They were strange, almost human-like, but she could not see anyone. Maria felt a cold breeze brush her neck, and she knew that the spirits of the house were near. She was not afraid. She understood that they were guardians, testing her courage and honesty. She spoke softly, telling them she meant no harm and only wished to honor her family's legacy. The air seemed to grow warmer, and the shadows slowed, almost as if listening to her words. Maria spent the next few days exploring the house and following the clues. Each day she uncovered new hidden rooms, secret doors, and passageways. Some rooms had old furniture, broken but filled with history. Others had empty shelves or small chests with coins and letters. Maria studied each item carefully. She realized that her great-grandfather had designed this house as a test. Only someone who was patient, brave, and careful could find the treasure and respect the family legacy. During one exploration, Maria discovered a trapdoor in the dining room, hidden beneath a rug. The door was heavy and old, but she managed to lift it. Beneath it was a narrow staircase leading underground. The air smelled of damp earth and the walls were rough stone. She held her flashlight and descended slowly. Every step echoed through the passage, and she felt as if the house itself was alive, watching her carefully. At the bottom of the staircase, Maria found another hidden chamber. It was filled with barrels, crates, and old boxes. She brushed off the dust and examined each item carefully. Among them, she found another chest with carvings matching the journal. This time she felt certain the treasure was close. She studied the symbols and realized they indicated one more secret room, smaller and hidden behind the cellar wall. Maria pressed the symbols and a section of the wall slowly moved aside, revealing a narrow doorway. Maria paused at the doorway. She felt a thrill of excitement mixed with fear. She knew that whatever lay beyond this door could change her life forever. She whispered softly to the house, promising to respect the secrets and the spirits. The air grew still, almost as if listening. With determination, she stepped into the hidden room, ready to discover the secrets her great-grandfather had left behind. Maria understood that the house was more than just bricks and wood. It was alive with history, memories, and guardians who wanted to ensure that the treasure would be found by someone worthy. She felt a deep connection to the house and her family's past. Every step she took, every clue she followed made her stronger, braver, and more confident in her purpose. She looked around the hidden room, shining her flashlight carefully. The walls were lined with carvings, the floor was stone, and in the center stood a chest unlike any she had seen before. Maria knew that this was the moment she had been waiting for. Her heart beat faster, but she felt ready. She was about to uncover a treasure that had been hidden for generations. The adventure was just beginning, and Maria knew she would face challenges, but she was determined to succeed. Maria stood in the hidden room, her heart racing with excitement. The stone walls were cold and the air smelled damp and earthy. In the center of the room stood a large wooden chest. Its surface was carved with intricate symbols, the same symbols she had seen in her great-grandfather's journal. She could hardly believe her eyes. After days of searching, following clues, and exploring secret passages, she was finally here. The treasure she had read about in the journal was in front of her. She knelt beside the chest and examined the carvings carefully. The designs told a story of exploration, courage, and family honor. Maria realized that her great-grandfather had not only hidden the gold, but had also left a lesson. Whoever found the treasure had to be brave, patient, and respectful of the past. She smiled. She felt a connection to him, as if he was guiding her through every step of this journey. Maria took a deep breath and slowly lifted the chest lid. A golden glow reflected from the sunlight that entered through a small crack in the ceiling. Inside, she saw piles of gold coins, glittering jewelry, and precious artifacts. The sight made her eyes widen. The treasure was far more than she had imagined. Each piece of gold seemed to tell a story of its own. Some coins were old and worn, while others were polished and bright. The jewelry was delicate and beautiful, crafted by skilled hands long ago. Maria carefully lifted a gold coin and examined it. She could see markings that matched the journal. Her great-grandfather had documented every piece of the treasure. She realized that the value of this gold was not only in money but also in history. It was a connection to her family, a story of adventure, and a proof of courage. Maria felt a sense of pride and responsibility. This treasure was hers, but it was also hers to protect and honor. As Maria explored the chest, she suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. The air in the room seemed to shift. Shadows moved along the walls, though she could see no one. She whispered softly, "I mean no harm. I only want to honor my family." The cold breeze passed, but she could still feel a presence. The spirits of the house were near, watching to see if she was worthy of the treasure. Maria understood that her journey was not only about finding gold, but also about respecting the house and its guardians. She carefully documented everything in her notebook. Each coin, each artifact, each piece of jewelry was noted and sketched. She wanted to remember every detail. Her hands shook with excitement, but she also felt calm. She had worked hard to get here, solving the puzzles, following the symbols, and braving the house's mysteries. She had earned this moment. Maria continued to explore the hidden room. She found small compartments inside the chest, each containing maps, letters, and keys. One map showed another hidden space beneath the garden outside. Another letter explained that some of the treasure had been moved during her great-grandfather's time to protect it from thieves. The keys were labeled with symbols matching doors she had not yet opened in the house. Maria realized that her adventure was far from over. The treasure was not only in this room but spread across the property, waiting to be discovered. The whispering returned, softer this time. Maria felt a presence near the chest. She remembered the warning in the lawyer's letter. "Be careful. The house has a reputation." She understood now that the house was alive with guardians. The spirits were her ancestors, testing her courage and honesty. Maria bowed her head and spoke softly. I will respect this treasure and protect it. I will not take it without understanding its history. The coldness lifted slightly and the shadows seemed to pause. She felt a sense of approval, as if the house had acknowledged her intentions. Maria spent several hours in the hidden room. She moved the chest aside and examined the walls. In one corner, she found a small door hidden behind a loose stone. The key she had found in the chest fit perfectly. The door opened to a narrow staircase leading underground. She descended carefully, shining her flashlight. The air grew colder, and the walls were lined with carved symbols. Each symbol seemed to guide her forward. Maria realized that her great-grandfather had designed this house like a maze, ensuring only someone clever and determined could find the complete treasure. At the bottom of the staircase, Maria entered another chamber. This room was smaller but filled with crates and barrels. Some crates contained coins and jewelry, while others were empty, perhaps looted long ago. In one corner, she found a small chest. The carvings on this chest were similar to the larger one but more delicate. Maria opened it and found letters from her great-grandfather. They explained how he had traveled to Spain, collected the gold, and hid it carefully in the house. The letters also mentioned his hope that one day a family member would find it and continue his legacy. Maria felt tears in her eyes. She was proud and emotional. She had found her great-grandfather's dream and honored his wishes. Suddenly, Maria heard a loud sound behind her. She turned and saw shadows moving across the walls. The whispers grew louder, almost as if they were talking to her. She remembered her promise to the spirits and spoke clearly. I will protect this treasure. I will honor my family and this house. Please help me if I'm worthy. The room grew still again. The shadows faded and the temperature returned to normal. Maria realized that the spirits were no longer trying to scare her. They were guiding her, showing her that she had proven herself. Maria carefully gathered some of the coins and jewelry to examine later. She did not want to remove everything. Knowing the house and the spirits were protecting it, she planned to catalog the treasure properly and learn about each piece before deciding what to do. Her great-grandfather had trusted her, and she would not disappoint him. The responsibility felt heavy, but it also gave her strength. She felt as if she was part of a story that began centuries ago, a story of courage, wisdom, and family honor. After documenting everything, Maria rested in the chamber for a while. She could feel the history of the house around her. The walls seemed alive with memories. She could imagine her ancestors walking through the halls, watching over the treasure, and ensuring it remained safe. Maria felt a deep connection to her family and to the house itself. She understood that this adventure was not only about wealth, but about understanding, respect, and love for her family's past. When Maria finally returned upstairs, she felt stronger and more confident. She had uncovered the first part of the treasure and earned the trust of the house. She knew that other hidden spaces still existed, waiting for her discovery. Each room, each symbol, and each passage was part of a puzzle that only she could solve. Maria smiled. She felt ready to continue the journey, knowing that her bravery, patience, and intelligence had brought her this far. As she prepared to leave the hidden room, Maria paused and looked back at the chest. The golden glow reflected in her eyes. She whispered softly, I will honor this treasure and I will protect it. Thank you for trusting me. She felt a warmth in the air, as if the spirits were acknowledging her words. Maria knew that her adventure was only beginning. The house had more secrets, more treasures, and more challenges waiting. She was ready to face them all, guided by the courage she had discovered within herself. After discovering the hidden treasure, Maria returned to the main hall of the house. She carried only a few of the coins and jewelry to study later, careful not to disturb the balance of the room. As she moved through the dusty hallways, she noticed shadows moving across the walls, though she could see no one. The house seemed alive, its energy watching her every step. She felt a chill and her hair stood on end. Maria realized that the spirits of her ancestors were still present, guarding the house and the treasure. For days, Maria explored every corner of the house. Each night, the whispers returned, soft and mysterious. Sometimes they sounded like words, other times like sighs. Maria remembered the warning in the lawyer's letter. We cannot sleep here. She began to understand. The spirits were restless. They had waited for someone worthy to claim the treasure, and now that she had found it, they wanted her to understand them. Maria decided she needed to communicate with the spirits to gain their trust. One evening, she set up a small area in the library. She lit candles and arranged them around a table. She placed the journal of her great-grandfather in the center, along with a notebook and pen. Maria took a deep breath and spoke softly to the spirits. I am Maria, your descendant. I have found the treasure and I promise to honor it and protect it. Please help me understand what you want. She paused, her eyes scanning the dark corners of the room. The shadows shifted and the air grew still. At first, there was no response. Maria felt her confidence waver, but she reminded herself to stay calm. She opened the journal and read aloud passages about her great-grandfather's travels and the treasure. As she read, she noticed the candles flicker, though there was no wind. Then a soft whisper reached her ears. She could not understand the words, but the tone felt gentle, guiding, and watchful. Maria smiled. She realized the spirits were listening. Over the next few days, Maria developed a routine. Each night she would sit in the library, speak to the spirits, and read from the journal. She learned to observe their reactions. When she promised to respect the house, the air would grow warmer. When she expressed doubt or fear, the shadows would seem restless. Slowly, she understood their language, not in words, but in feelings. The spirits were her ancestors, testing her courage, honesty, and intentions. One night, as she studied the journal, Maria noticed something she had missed before. A passage described a secret room, smaller than the others, meant to hold the most valuable part of the treasure. According to her great-grandfather, only someone with a pure heart could access it. Maria knew this was a challenge set by the spirits. She had to prove her worthiness not by force or greed, but by respect and patience. The next morning, Maria followed the clues. She traced symbols along the walls of the house, moving slowly and carefully. She discovered a hidden door behind a painting in the dining room. The door was small and almost invisible, blending perfectly with the wall. Maria pressed the symbols carved into the frame, just as described in the journal, and the door creaked open. Inside was a narrow passage leading underground. She held her flashlight and descended, feeling a sense of anticipation mixed with calm. At the bottom, she entered a small chamber. The walls were lined with stone, and in the center was a chest, smaller than the previous ones but beautifully crafted. It had delicate carvings and a locking mechanism that required careful attention. Maria realized that this chest held something very special. She knelt down and studied the carvings. They told a story of courage, loyalty, and family honor. Maria understood that her great-grandfather had left this challenge to ensure that only someone who truly respected the treasure could claim it. As she worked to open the chest, a cold breeze brushed her face. The whispers grew louder, forming patterns she could feel but not yet understand. Maria closed her eyes and spoke softly. I respect your work. I respect this house. I promise to honor my family and the treasure. Please guide me. When she opened her eyes, the chest seemed to glow slightly in the dim light. She carefully unlocked it and lifted the lid. Inside, Maria found more gold coins, precious gems, and small artifacts. Each piece was unique and valuable, not just in money but in history. She realized that the chest contained the heart of her great-grandfather's treasure. These were items collected from Spain, carefully hidden and preserved for generations. Maria felt a deep sense of connection to her ancestors. She had proven her worthiness by showing patience, respect, and courage. Maria spent hours examining each artifact and coin. She documented everything carefully, making sketches and notes. She understood that her responsibility was not just to keep the treasure, but to protect the story behind it. Each item represented her family's past, their journeys, and their hopes. Maria felt proud to be part of this legacy. She realized that the true treasure was not only gold but the knowledge, history, and values passed down to her. During her study, Maria noticed subtle changes in the room. The air grew warmer, and the whispers softened into gentle, approving sounds. Shadows moved slowly along the walls, but they no longer felt threatening. The spirits were no longer restless. They had accepted her as the guardian of the treasure. Maria understood that she had passed their test. She smiled and whispered, "Thank you for trusting me. I will honor your legacy." The following days were spent exploring the house with new confidence. Maria discovered other hidden passages that led to small rooms filled with artifacts, letters, and personal items from her ancestors. Each discovery deepened her understanding of the family history. She began to feel that the house was alive with stories, each room a memory waiting to be discovered. Maria felt a sense of fulfillment. She was no longer just exploring, she was connecting with the past. One evening, Maria decided to share her plan with the spirits. She spoke aloud in the library. "I will restore this house. I will honor the treasure. I will tell the story of our family to the world. I want everyone to know what we have achieved and what we have protected." The shadows moved slowly across the walls, almost as if nodding in agreement. The air felt warm and peaceful. Maria realized that the house had become her ally, a partner in preserving her family's legacy. Maria also understood that the spirits had taught her an important lesson. Courage, patience, respect, and honesty were more valuable than gold. She had faced fear, followed the clues, and shown reverence for her ancestors. In return, the house had revealed its secrets. Maria knew that her journey was not just about wealth. It was about understanding, preserving history, and honoring the past. With this new understanding, Maria began organizing the treasure carefully. She decided to catalog everything, learning about each coin, jewel, and artifact. She made notes about their history, origin, and significance. She also planned how to display some of the items in the house when she restored it. Maria realized that by sharing the story, she could honor her ancestors and educate others about their courage and wisdom. One night, as she sat in the library, Maria reflected on everything she had learned. She thought about the house, the spirits, and her great-grandfather's vision. She realized that she had changed. She was braver, wiser, and more confident. The house had tested her and she had passed. The spirits had accepted her, and the treasure was now safely in her care. Maria smiled. She felt at peace for the first time since she had inherited the house. Maria also knew that her adventure was not yet complete. There were still hidden spaces in the house, more symbols to decode and more stories to discover. But now she faced the journey with confidence. The spirits were her allies and the treasure was safe. She was ready for the next steps, prepared to restore the house, honor her family, and continue the story that had begun centuries ago. Maria woke up early one morning, feeling a sense of purpose she had never felt before. The house was quiet, the shadows gentle, and the air seemed warmer. She had spent weeks exploring, documenting the treasure and communicating with the spirits of her ancestors. Now it was time to start a new chapter. Maria had decided to restore the house, honor the treasure, and create a place where the story of her family could be shared with the world. The restoration was not easy. The house had suffered from years of neglect. The roof had holes, the walls were cracked, and the floors creaked under every step. Maria worked tirelessly, cleaning, painting, and repairing each room. She hired local craftsmen to help with the structural repairs while she focused on preserving the historical elements. Every day she learned more about the house, the hidden passages, and the secret rooms. She made sure to keep the treasure safe, storing it in the hidden chambers her great-grandfather had designed. While restoring the house, Maria continued to communicate with the spirits. Each night she lit candles in the library and spoke softly. She shared her plans for the house and explained how she intended to honor the family legacy. Slowly, the whispers grew softer, the shadows more peaceful. It felt as if the spirits were smiling, approving her work and guiding her hands when she needed help. Maria felt a deep connection to them, as if she could feel their pride and gratitude. As the house took shape, Maria thought about how she could share its story. She decided to turn part of the house into a museum, showcasing the treasure, letters, journals, and artifacts she had discovered. Each piece would have a story, explaining its history and significance. Maria wanted visitors to understand the courage, intelligence, and dedication of her ancestors. She also planned a small guest area, allowing travelers to stay and experience the history and mystery of the house. The work took months, but Maria's determination never wavered. She spent long days restoring the floors, polishing the furniture, and cleaning the windows so that sunlight could illuminate the rooms. She painted walls with colors chosen to match the old style while keeping them fresh and inviting. She repaired doors and windows, ensuring the house was safe and comfortable. Every detail mattered because the house was more than a building. It was a living memory of her family's past. During one quiet evening, Maria decided to revisit the hidden chambers. She carried her flashlight and a notebook, planning to check on the treasure and review her documentation. The rooms were just as she had left them. The shadows moved gently along the walls and the whispers were soft, almost like music. Maria felt a sense of peace. The spirits had accepted her not only as the guardian of the treasure but also as the caretaker of the house. She smiled and whispered, "I will protect everything. I will honor our story. As the house was restored, Maria received visitors. Friends, neighbors, and travelers came to see the old mansion and hear about her journey. Maria shared the story of her great-grandfather, the hidden treasure, and the lessons she had learned. She explained how the spirits had guided her and how courage, patience, and honesty were more important than wealth. People were amazed by the history and the mysteries she had uncovered. Maria enjoyed seeing their curiosity and excitement. Maria also began organizing the treasure carefully. She separated the coins, jewelry, and artifacts into categories, making notes about each item's origin, age, and significance. Some items she decided to display in the museum area, while others remained hidden in the secure chambers. She wanted to preserve them for future generations and ensure they were respected. The treasure was more than money. It was a story, a legacy, and a responsibility. One evening, while arranging the artifacts in the museum, Maria noticed a small envelope tucked behind a painting. It contained a letter from her great-grandfather. The letter explained that he had hoped a family member would one day find the treasure and honor it responsibly. He encouraged the finder to respect the house, the spirits, and the family legacy. Maria felt tears in her eyes. She realized that she had fulfilled his wish and was now part of the story he had started so many years ago. With the house restored and the treasure secured, Maria began thinking about the future. She decided to continue exploring the property, uncovering any remaining hidden rooms or passages. She also planned to write a book about her journey, explaining the history of the family, the discovery of the treasure, and the lessons she had learned. Maria wanted others to understand the importance of courage, respect, and perseverance. She felt inspired by the story of her great-grandfather and the spirits who had guided her. Life in the house became joyful. Maria woke up every morning to sunlight streaming through the clean windows. Birds sang in the garden and the trees swayed gently in the breeze. The house, once abandoned and quiet, was alive with energy and warmth. Maria felt a sense of belonging she had never felt before. She was no longer just a maid from the hotel. She was the caretaker of her family's history, the guardian of treasure, and the storyteller of generations past. Visitors who stayed in the guest rooms often spoke about feeling a mysterious sense of calm and peace. Maria explained that the house was special, protected by the spirits of her ancestors. She shared her experiences of communicating with them, how they guided her, and how she learned to respect their presence. Guests were fascinated by her story. They felt inspired by her courage and her determination to honor her family's legacy. As months passed, Maria fully embraced her new life. She managed the museum, welcomed guests, and continued exploring the hidden parts of the house. She wrote detailed notes about the treasure, the rooms, and the stories behind each item. Every day she learned something new about her great-grandfather, the house, and her ancestors. She also grew more confident and independent, knowing that she had overcome fear and uncertainty to uncover her family's treasure. One quiet night, Maria sat in the library, surrounded by candles and the journal of her great-grandfather. She reflected on everything she had accomplished. The house was restored, the treasure was safe, and the spirits were at peace. She realized that her journey had been about more than discovering gold. It had been about courage, respect, patience, and understanding. Maria felt grateful for the lessons she had learned and the family she had discovered through the house and its secrets. Maria smiled as she looked around the library. She knew that the house, the treasure, and the spirits were now part of her life forever. She had found her place in the world, a place filled with history, mystery, and love. She had turned a haunted, abandoned house into a home filled with warmth and life. She had honored her ancestors, preserved their legacy, and created a story that would be remembered for generations. The house no longer felt haunted. It felt alive with memories, joy, and gratitude. The shadows were gentle, the whispers soft and comforting. Maria could sense the spirits watching over her, approving her work and feeling proud of her courage. She knew that they would always be part of her life, guiding her, protecting her, and celebrating her dedication to the family legacy. Maria's life had changed completely. She was no longer just a maid. She was the guardian of history, a storyteller and a caretaker of a treasure worth millions. She had turned fear into courage, mystery into knowledge, and an abandoned house into a home full of life and wonder. Maria looked around with satisfaction. She knew that her great-grandfather's dreams had been fulfilled, and that she had created a future worthy of the past. Every morning, Maria walked through the halls, polished the floors, and tended the garden. She welcomed visitors with a smile, shared stories with warmth, and cared for the treasure with respect. She had become part of a story that had begun generations ago, a story of courage, family, and the power of love and determination. Maria understood that she was not only protecting the treasure, but also the memories, values, and spirit of her ancestors. At night, as she sat by the fire in the library, Maria felt complete. She had faced fear, uncovered hidden treasures, and learned the secrets of the house. She had communicated with the spirits and earned their trust. She had restored the house to its former glory and created a future filled with hope, history, and beauty. Maria knew that her life had been transformed forever, and she was ready to embrace every new day with courage, curiosity, and love.